It's really nice to think that those in Liberia who really may not have the resource, now you're bringing these resources to the platform. You're bringing the knowledge and the know-how to the UMG podcast for everyone.
Mhm.
Um, they can catch it on the UMG podcast here. You've got Twitter, you've got YouTube, you've got Facebook, you even got Instagram, I believe. So you have a number of ways where ones can contact you to really get some information and find out what is necessary to help build their business in Liberia, or if they're here in America and going to Liberia, or Liberia coming to going to a different country. It's still a resource that can be used regardless of where anyone is in the entire world, due to the internet.
Absolutely.
As you said earlier, the
Yeah.
internet
Yeah.
plays a huge role,
Yeah.
and having access to it is certainly a resource. So those things are all really good. So now that we've got a few things down, Jerome. So we got where you grew up.
Mm-hmm.
We know where you're from. We know you
Mm-hmm.
have family. We know you're now here in the US, but you
Mm-hmm.
started your business in Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
We know that you're partnering with different businesses in and outside of Liberia, and you have the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What else is it that you're looking to do? I just want to wonder. And I know your mind is always going. So I'm just wondering, if nothing else, then that's fine. You sound like you have your hands tied with quite a bit here, which is good, right? But just want to kind of, ask, is there anything else that you're considering doing? And if not, that's fine. We'll move on to the next piece. But anything else that you're thinking about that you feel like would be a fantastic resource to those that are starting businesses in or outside of Liberia?
Um, welcome to the UMG Podcast. I'm your host, Jerome Sheldon. As always, we have a beautiful show for you today. Now, if you're new to this channel, we ask you to please like and subscribe in the link below. So, without further ado, let's get started.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, UMG family, to the UMG Podcast. And today we have a very special guest that I'm extremely excited about. He is an international partner. He's a World Business Angels Investment Forum partner representing Liberia. He's the CEO of Umbrella Management Group. He has a ton of industry experience with strategic planning and consulting and project management. He has a long track record of knowing different ones and different into areas. He is certainly international, and I am more than excited to have him here today. Please welcome no other than the CEO of Umbrella Management Group, Jerome Sheldon Jr.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, Jerome, thank you so much for being here. We are certainly excited to have you. And of course, as many can see, uh, I am Dani Sheldon, the guest co-host. So I'm co-hosting today because my host and CEO is my husband of UMG. So very excited to interview you. Well, let's jump right in. Uh, Many people may or may not know that you're actually from Liberia. So tell us about that. Tell us about growing up in Liberia, what Liberia was like, how many siblings you have, where's your family originally from, what does that look like for you? So please enlighten us.
Well, growing up in Liberia, what I can start from is what I'm actually was born in Grand Cape County, um, and probably around the age about 5 or 6, we kind of moved down to Morovia. So I
Mm-hmm.
spent most of my younger years in Morovia around the South Beach area, and then eventually we kind of move up into the Garnersville, kind of move around the Garnersville belt a little bit. Like for example, Stephen Tubber Estate, Barnaville Junction, and of course New Georgia Road. I went to St. Patrick's High School from I think it was from 1980. I want to say 82 up to 88.
Mm-hmm.
Graduated from there. So I spent most of my time hanging around in Monrovia. So I always say this, I went through elementary school, I went through high school, I even went through a semester at the University of Liberia
Mm-hmm.
before coming to the United States. So I have few siblings on my dad's side and my mother's side. My mother's about 3 of us. And on my
Mm-hmm.
dad, I think we about total maybe like about 5 or 6 or so. Most
Mm-hmm.
of the siblings on my dad's side were pretty much born here in the States, except for
Mm-hmm.
one,
Mm-hmm.
and myself that were born in Liberia.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow. So very extensive family ties to Liberia then.
Yes.
So just a quick question I think many people may want to know. With you growing up in Liberia, we know there's different tribes and different cultures there. Is there a specific language or a specific tribe that your family is in?
Um, the tribe was I was like I said, I'm part of the Vi tribe, so I'm from
Okay.
Cape Mount,
Mhm.
and I don't speak much of it. Well,
Mhm.
interestingly though, growing up, I spoke Mende. Now,
Ah.
of course, when we moved to Morovia and started going to school and things like that, and
Mhm.
eventually I kind of lost those, that language because
Mhm.
most of speaking English there for the most part, and so
Mhm.
eventually I was able to, I just kind of pick up on the English part of things. So that
Mhm.
eventually, went out of the door for me. That's why
Mhm.
I've been able to speak Mende vibe. But I could hear, a little bit bits and pieces. I can kind of put a little puzzle together when people are speaking it.
Mhm.
But of course, in my case, I already can speak it fluently.
Okay. And now that's your mom. What about your dad? Does your dad speak another language or from a different tribe?
No, my dad actually, uh, I almost want to say that Congo person. Well, in La Bro, that's how we mentioned. We call it the Congo people, you
Mhm.
know. But no, he doesn't speak any other language. I was told that, matter of fact, I told that he was born actually in the Ivory Coast, and then the mother moved back to uh, Liberia. She's
Mhm.
from Liberia, but she had moved
Mhm.
there when she was pregnant with him, and then had him, and then moved back to Liberia. So, but interestingly, I know a lot of time people say Sheldon, Jerome
Mhm.
Sheldon. So what does
Mhm.
Sheldon name? come from, because it's not a typical Liberian name. Uh, I, my understanding was that my dad, his father, uh, was actually a Kemokai, and but
Mhm.
the missionary and stuff that raised him,
Mhm.
changed the name to Sheldon, and so that's how we got the
Mm.
Sheldon last name.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you for that extensive background and your formidable years. Now let's move on up to when you came to the U.S. I know you spent your younger years and even teenage years in Liberia, but soon thereafter you moved to the U.S. Around what age did you move to the U.S. and why did you move to the U.S.?
Well, I moved to the U.S. I think it was back in 1989. I remember
Mm-hmm.
specifically around December that I
Mm-hmm.
came to the U.S. And the purpose, of course, all kids in Liberia, everybody, wants to come to America. I've just graduated from high school, and I was about a semester at the University of Liberia, and most of my schoolmates at the time, was coming to the States to further themselves in terms of education and career wise and things like that. And so I told my dad I wanted to come on over because my dad was here in the States at the time, and so he sent for myself and my sister. So we both came in 1989.
Okay, got it. All right. So now that you're here, you're in the U.S.
Mhm.
You and your sister. What have things been like? Just give us a little bit, if you will, of your life here in the U.S., and then we're going to jump right into the business side of things.
Um, the U.S., is one of those things. Well, when we first came, it was a huge adjustment,
Mhm.
adjustment for me. And interestingly, um, when we came on a vacation. No, it was like in December. So
Mhm.
the goal was to actually go back,
Mhm.
to Liberia in February of that year of
Mhm.
1980. We came in 1989, so to go back in February of 1990. But then the war started
Mm.
in 1990,
Mhm.
January actually, and so that kind of changed the whole plan. So now we had to
Mhm.
stay on this side of things. So I had to get my documents for school, um, get them sent over so I can be able to start college on this side of things. So making that adjustment at first was a tough one for me, but then
Mhm.
eventually, able to work my way into the system and understanding some few things. And of course, things are much better now uh, being here in the States.
Okay, got it. So
Mhm.
I know what you said. There's a war. When did that war end? Do you remember or have a general idea?
The war actually, there was two phases of that. I think,
Okay.
if my understanding is that it was probably it actually got over. I think some people said 80. I mean, I'm sorry, 96. Things
Mm.
kind of slow up, but then it
Mhm.
pick up a little bit again
Mhm.
after that part with a lot of low disruption
Mhm.
and other things going on. And I think it was probably back in 2005 or six or something like that. That then, of course, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf came in, and I think that things really kind of summer down at that point, so
Okay.
to speak.
Okay. And how's your family there now? Are they okay? Your
Yes,
family and okay.
yeah, and families are, everybody trying to, survive, so to speak, the
Mhm.
struggles and other things
Mhm.
that take place. But yeah, they're hanging in there. Um, I have some here in the States also too. Some were able to
Mhm.
come over during the
Mhm.
course of the year, and
Mhm.
of course there are some that are still there, so to speak. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Well, good. All right. So now that we got personal side out of the way, let's step into the business side.
Mhm.
Certainly, let's not forget you are the host of the UMG podcast. But before we get into that, let's really talk about UMG, which stands for Umbrella Management Group. Can you tell us about your thought process and even implementing UMG and where it's actually implemented or where you started it at? Was it the US? Was it Liberia? Where did you start your business at? And how did you come about the thought process for that? What was the reasoning behind it? The purpose of it as well?
Well, UMG, I would say this. We started that in Liberia, but the concept, of course, started here in the States. Now,
Mhm.
it was always my, I want to say, thought process of my passion about doing business, in Liberia. I started to do UMG at one point. It was back in, I think, 2005 or 2006,
Mhm.
up in that range. But that did not, go well. So I felt a little bit discouraged about it. But eventually, when things kind of line up for me, and this was probably back in 2000 and in 2021 or so,
Mhm.
um, started getting back into feeling that way, came across somebody there that I could trust. And then we started to just, brainstorm. But it was geared towards addressing some of the challenges in Liberia, helping
Mhm.
entrepreneur and businesses and
Mhm.
SMEs,
Mhm.
see how best we can help them to be able to grow their
Mhm.
business. So we had a little bit of, what you say, a feasibility study. And
Mhm.
one of the things I found out too was that, in addition to needing finance to start a business, there was a lack of know-how, so,
Mhm.
and credibility, and to
Mhm.
build that credibility. So that's the direction I decided to go in with UMG, basically seeing how I can help these ones to, you know, build that credibility so that people can take
Mhm.
them seriously when they're talking about
Mhm.
businesses. you know, People there had the skills to do things, but
Mhm.
representation, was not there. And even the
Mhm.
professionalism, how you carry yourself. Do you have a place or business that people can come in and they can see
Mhm.
what you're doing and they can, you know, give you what you're worth?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's how the concept came with UMG, to try to put together this platform
Mhm.
where people can then take you seriously. So we started to partner there with local businesses. you
Mhm.
know we started offer with the office space arrangement where they can subscribe to our office. They can have their office, they can come in, um, and be able to meet with their clients. People take it much more seriously that way.
Mhm.
Your
Mhm.
credibility is there. You can build that relationship with the client, and kind of
Mhm.
move up from there. You know,
Mhm.
and then we also thought about doing some, of course, business etiquette. How you
Mhm.
answer phone, how you
Mhm.
address people. All those
Mhm.
things play a part in, in retaining your customer base. So these are
Mhm.
some of the few things that we thought about there. So when I think about the umbrella, now the concept of that was bringing all of these different, I would say, businesses
Mhm.
under one platform. So
Mhm.
that's where the umbrella come into play. And if you see that we provide a lot of services because we are now partnering with this
Mhm.
various entity, and then of course that help us to be able to provide various services as well. So that's the little gist about UMG, and of course my dear brother and friend Martin, myself, the one that then started to brainstorm on how we could do things to get it established.
Okay, very nice. Thank you for that. Now, you said something just now that I thought was interesting. You said you're trying to help with some of the challenges in Liberia. Now, I'm American, and
Hmm.
so um, I know the challenges here in America. But what are some of the challenges that are actually in Liberia? I know you named a few of them, but just on a from a broader perspective, from your in your mind's eye, what are some of the challenges that you see in Liberia that you feel like UMG is a resolve for? That platform can certainly resolve some of those challenges or provide a resolution to those that are to the people of Liberia. Help me understand as an American.
Well, I would say there are so many challenges there, especially when on the line of business, doing
Mhm.
business.
Mhm.
Uh, Internet service is a challenge. Um, of course, having a suitable place to be able to operate your business is also a
Mhm.
challenge.
Mhm.
Electricity is it's a challenge there to have it. and
Mhm.
um and so a lot of time, it leave people, like I said, scrambling for things to do.
Mhm.
It seems like you focus more on those things than actually growing, your business, so
Business.
to speak.
Mhm.
A
Mhm.
lot of things here in the States that we see are just being necessity. You have
Mhm.
electricity, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
those places. and I mean those things, internet services, it's,
Mhm.
basically everywhere.
Mhm.
We can help a young person who's trying to start a business to be able to thrive in their
Mhm.
business.
Mhm.
Uh, those are things that are not that common in Liberia. So the
Mm.
challenges are there with that. So that was my approach on what can we do to kind of
Mhm.
ease these things out, make it easier for someone to be able to
Mhm.
first start a business
Mhm.
and then focus on growing the customer base, you know.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's how the platform for UMG came into play. Started first with the virtual office, as we call it, where a
Mhm.
person can then subscribe to. They can
Mhm.
come in, they can meet their clients. Everything is already set up there for them. You have an internet, Wi-Fi there. You have electricity that is there. Um, your desk, everything that is there
Mhm. Mhm.
is in the office and a conference room. So you
Mhm.
just meet the client there, have your
Mhm.
discussion, and then you head on out. So that way you can focus more and more on the business side of things and growing that relationship with the customers. And so forth. So that's one of the that's
Gotcha.
a few of the challenges
Sure.
that we came across. Yeah,
Sure. And so UMG now is the platform that can be used that will help resolve those things. It's
absolutely.
gotcha. Okay. And so some of the partnerships that you have
Hmm.
with other businesses, can you talk a little bit about those? I know you have quite a few, and I named a few things that you do, but what are some of the partnerships, meaning maybe the name of the business, or what are some things that you provide through your partnerships to those in Liberia?
Well, for partnerships, like I said, that's again our model. To be able
Mhm.
to build strategic partnerships. So every partnership is a
Mhm.
little different. It's based
Mhm.
on both parties are involved in there, and what they want to be able to advance. Their businesses. Okay,
Mhm.
so we have partners that are local on the ground in Liberia,
Mhm.
and we
Mhm.
also have partners that are outside, of Liberia. So
Mhm.
to start off with the partners in Liberia, we have some businesses that we partner with them, the services that they are providing, that for example, construction.
Mhm.
So what we do is we provide the office space,
Mhm.
that to meet the clients there for consultation, um, to go over some few things. It's a Wi-Fi, it's an internet serve. The internet is there that they can come in, do logistic work and things like that. Get online, do some research. So the office is there. Um, the conference room is there for training, because that's another thing we try to do. We provide training for our partners too in their
Mhm.
field that they are
Mhm.
in. And then on the partnership that are outside of Liberia,
Mhm.
we partner with companies up in Europe,
Mhm.
Asia, like Singapore.
Mhm.
Um, Two of our biggest partner right now, of course, is Sunrise Evolution Technology. It's a
Mhm.
company that is located both in Dubai and the Netherlands, and
Mhm.
they are one of the biggest name in the IT industry,
Mhm.
of course. So they specialize in cybersecurity, IoTs, smart city, uh, solar, renewable
Mhm.
energy. So
Mhm.
that gave us the platform, or gave us the capacity to be able to provide those services, in Liberia. We
Sure.
also have a partner too with SoStar. Now that's
Mhm.
a appliance brand based up in Singapore.
Mhm.
So that allows us to be able to bring in doable appliances to
Mhm.
shareholders in Liberia that can purchase and be able to resell these things. So
Mhm.
these are some of the partnerships that we have, and these partnerships to also spill into us being able to help local integrators in the
Mhm.
country, to help them
Mhm.
too with training and things of
Mhm.
that nature as well.
Very nice. It sounds like you've got your hands tied. You're pretty busy with
Yes.
this. One of the things that you mentioned was the office space, and I know that people have I've heard feedback. People have thoroughly enjoyed the office space, especially because they can come in and meet with their clients, do, as you said, any sort of administrative work, things of that sort. Can you tell
Mhm.
us about, in your office space, can you tell us about those that assist in that? Do you have a manager there? Do you have someone there, someone that can greet them? What does that look like for those who don't know? Can you talk a little bit more about that office space piece?
Yes, the office space now, that's one of our biggest achievement thus far, I would say, because it serves so many purpose there. It makes
Mhm,
things easier for someone who maybe starting a business in Liberia, you
mhm,
know, or someone be outside of Liberia trying to start a business. You can get on the ground and you don't have to worry about trying to get an office space, which you have to furnish it up. You got to worry about security.
mhm,
You have to worry about, the internet services and the
mhm,
electricity and those things. So we take all of that away from you,
mhm,
that burden, so that you can just be
mhm,
able to just focus basically on running your business.
mhm,
So that was so that platform is what we have right now. um like I mentioned earlier, Martin, that is
mhm,
my partner on the ground there. He's the general manager
mhm,
for the business and doing an
mhm,
excellent job there as well too. So we have some few teams member there. We have Andrea Anderson, she's the office
mhm,
manager
mhm,
there as well too. Few others that I've been with for in the beginning of time. I know I have Jatu,
mhm,
some of the staff members here, Cynthia,
mhm,
Prince, Ezekiel, just to name some of the few there. Um, I hope I'm not trying to leave out some names here. I think Pressure, um, Teresa. So just few of the
mhm,
team members that we have on the ground. So the process is that if we have a subscriber, someone who's we don't call them clients, we also call them partners because they partner with us.
mhm,
Um, the process is that they need an office. I mean, they need a time at the office. They will call the receptionist.
mhm,
She's there all day, um, and try to book a time that they can come in to meet with their clients. She
mhm,
make that available for them. And so once they comes in, they go into the office, of course, and once their guests arrive, the guests will be given a seat, to win the waiting room, and
mhm,
then notify the partner that your guest is here,
mhm,
and then the reception they can kind of escort the guests into the office, kind of give them that professional,
mhm,
prestigious kind of appearance that people then
mhm,
take you seriously, you know, in
mhm,
what you are trying to do, all the services that you are trying to offer there. So thus far, it's been working pretty good. Um, of course, it's something new to Liberia, so
sure.
you always have this challenge there, people trying to figure out what it is. So we're still trying
Mhm,
to educate,
mhm,
people about it to
mhm,
see. But that would take time. As anything new in Liberia, awareness is a huge part of it. So we gradually trying to help people there. But thus far, the ones that have started, subscribing with us, partnering with us, they love it. I mean, they compliment us on the fact that such a thing is
mhm,
there. It
mhm,
makes things a whole lot easier for them,
mhm.
and and we try to scale it up, as times go by.
Oh, nice. That sounds very nice. And
Mhm.
thank you for explaining that. You're right. Education is always key when there's something new that is come about to an area or to a country.
Yeah.
Now we talked about UMG and the workspace and things of that sort, but is there anything that you're beginning to add on or things that you're looking to add on to the UMG platform? Is there something specific you're looking for? Like I know you have the office space, I know you have construction, I know you have solar, you have appliances, or are you limiting yourself? What are you doing in that arena with regards to broadening your portfolio?
I'm glad you asked that question too, because I kind of left that out as well too. Uh, we have website design, and of course that's another thing too. Try to help businesses there to build their brand. A lot of times nowadays when you talk to someone, that you have a business or something like that,
Hmm.
they try to run to your website.
Mhm.
See what's on the website, and all that help to make you credible. Seem a lot more professional. So
Mhm.
UMG have an excellent website service where we have your website done for you in 7 days. Now, in
Mhm.
most cases, a website, I know a lot of people, you have the reoccurring fees of
Mhm.
hosting. And
Mhm.
so most people, turn away, especially in Liberia, there about websites that you got to pay every month
Mhm.
to continue to host the site. But this is a
Mhm.
one-time payment that you pay
Mhm.
for your website. I think it's about $150, and
Mhm.
you don't have to pay anything, at all after that point. Your website will be built for you in 7 days.
Mhm.
You'll have an onboarding where they will show you'll be shown how to go in the back end of it and be able to upload and edit things to it that you don't,
Mhm.
need to have someone else doing it. It's very easy to do, you
Mhm.
know, and I think that's a very good service there that people need in terms of branding, and
Mhm.
then building reputation for themselves to and their businesses. So we have that service. We also have business registration as well. It's always a challenge in Liberia, when you're trying to register a business. And then they feel if you're
Mhm.
someone who is outside of Liberia
Mhm.
and trying to get that done, it can be complicated. It can be very much challenging. So we
Mhm.
have that service as well too, where we can be able to do everything for you in terms of registering, your business. We have a shipping and receiving department. So if you were to send a cargo or container something to Liberia,
Mhm.
we can kind of free it up from you from the
Mhm.
port of entry. So we can
Mhm.
do that as well for you too. So these are just some of the few things
Mhm.
that we are that
Mhm.
we do have. So
Mhm.
again, I will encourage people to be able to go over to our website
Mhm.
um, and see some of the other services that we do provide there as well. So that's just in addition to we talk
Mhm.
about the office space as well too. So they can
Very nice.
check it out on the website. Yeah.
Very nice. And that website is umgbiz.com. I know it's on the screen, but I like to reiterate it, umgbiz.com, for those that may be listening versus watching. So
Hmm.
thank you so much for that additional information. Really appreciate that. Now, one of the things we talked about earlier was challenges, and you said sometimes those that may live on the outskirts be a challenge. One of the things I know that you've mentioned to me before um, was about the outskirts, but another piece was about for us here in the US, it's easy for us to use a credit card, a debit card, and we go to the ATM, we go to the bank, we go to the store. We use it like cash, plastic cash. But you've told me in Liberia that there's a challenge around that. Can you explain a little more about that? I thought that was very interesting coming from the US. I thought everybody can use a credit card without any without any barriers or challenges. But you've said no, this isn't the case. Can you provide some more insight there? And what are your thoughts about using UMG as a platform to help resolve that challenge?
Yes, credit. Now there are, of course, there are banks in Liberia there, so
Sure.
you do have the credit card
Mhm.
um, service that people have, but there's so many factors that goes into that. You have businesses that, if you're going to use a credit card, you have to have an internet service. If you have a
Mm.
business there,
Mhm.
that people can then swap the card and things like that. So internet is a very huge challenge,
Mhm.
in Liberia to be able to as to have access to. A lot of times, it's like you have to purchase a credit, and you don't have that much of a credit on there to stay online, for quite some
Mhm.
time. So most people there, they'll turn the credit on and use a little bit, and then they turn it back off. But
Mhm.
technology is a challenge in Liberia, and that was one of the reasons too that we kind of partnered there with Sunrise Technology, according to
Mhm.
Sunnyville,
Mhm.
and to be able to see how we can address some of the solutions, address some of the
Mhm.
problem in Liberia when it comes to technology. Eventually it's
Mhm.
something that has to come about. It takes
Mhm.
some time to be able to do that. and stuff. So
Mhm.
um, they're going to it would take a little bit of time for them to be
Mhm.
able to get to that point, but
Mhm.
it is a challenge with the credit card because sometimes you go to the banks and the internet service is down and you can have you can access your funds
Mm.
from it, and that's
Mhm.
very frustrating for a lot of people, and it makes them
Mhm.
even skeptical to even put their money into the banks. You know,
Mhm.
uh, the Liberian dollar there is sometimes you're moving around town, you're walking around with so much money on you, you know, and that's
Mhm.
dangerous because again, if you get robbed, all the
Mhm.
money gone. But if you have it on a credit card, if you somebody take the credit card, you can cancel the card. You still will have your
Sure.
money,
Mhm.
things like that. So
Mhm.
that's something too that I mean I do know that uh, the government too have to play a part, and the businesses
Mhm.
have to
Mhm.
play a part in there as well too. But for the
Mhm.
UMG, because so many things we're trying to address by
Mm.
collaborating with these IT partners
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
see how we can be able to address some of those issues when it comes to credit cards and stuff in Liberia and uses of
Mhm.
credit card, and then the fees too. It really
Mm.
hard. I
Mhm.
mean, when I was
Mhm.
there, I mean, you go to the bank and you trying to
Mhm.
withdraw some money. You have a limit.
Mhm.
I think if I don't recall at that time for me, it was about trying to take out $800. So every $200 is seven, and you can kind of add it up and see how much come out of
Oh,
there. Yeah.
this is the first time I'm hearing it. Don't take any more money out of the account and when you in like no. Mm-mm. No.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was such a high cost. I knew there were fees, right?
Hmm.
But I didn't realize it was such a high cost. So thank you so much for explaining that. Now, let's kind of can we talk a little bit about we talked about UMG, we talked about you growing up, but what we didn't talk about, and I'm not sure if you want to go there, but
Uh-oh.
you talked a little bit about life here in the US and you said
Hmm.
you had to make some adjustments, but you didn't
Hmm.
really talk much about it. So, what sort of adjustments did you have to make here? Do you have a family? I know you got me, but do you have children? What is your life here like in the US? And why are you so passionate about assisting those in Liberia? I think that's a big reason why you started your business in Liberia, but the question still remains as to why you're so passionate about it.
Yes. Now, speaking about making the adjustment, of
Mhm.
course, when at the age that I came to the U.S., I think I must have been around about 20 or so,
Mhm.
19, 20 in that range when I came. And once you get here, you're trying so much to fit in to the
Mhm.
culture. Um, the weather is cold. The language, yes, the slangs,
Mhm.
the geographic, everything is pretty much new to you. But as a young person, you're trying so hard, and in the process, it's in a sense you're trying to let go. I would say your African identity, or who you are.
Mhm.
You're trying to let go
Mhm.
of that, and you can imagine how sometimes it's hard. And
Mhm.
now that I look back at it, and I told myself, "Wow, you know, um, I wish I would have kept a lot of and be a little bit more proud of myself at the time. Just being an African from somewhere different, and here
Mhm.
in the States, I know so many times when I came out, go down the basketball court, and I wouldn't try to say anything at all, and just keep my mouth shut for the most part, because I don't want people asking me, once they pick up the accent, oh, where you from? Africa, and you'll do this in Africa, you'll do that, and you sitting down there trying to explain. So I just keep quiet about it, you know.
Mm.
But now, of course, that's growing up, So now,
Mhm.
older now, you a little bit, you know, proud of your upbringing, where you came from, and stuff like that, that you can then, want to talk about
Mhm.
it, you
Mhm.
know. So that's what I mean. The adjustment in that part when I mentioned coming to the States, it was a huge different. It's not like now where we have the internet. You have the
Mhm.
YouTube, you have other things now that people in Liberia now see a lot more of what
Mhm.
things are in the States before you come here. When I
Mhm.
came in '89, we didn't have the Facebook, we didn't have the
Sure.
YouTube and other things.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you could come to something completely totally new, so to speak. You
Mhm.
know, um, so I had to make that adjustment. And now for me, I think it's looking back now, and with a little bit of regrets on some of the things that I felt like I had to let go. you
Mhm.
know Now it's
Mhm.
something that I want to embrace, so to speak.
Mhm.
So that
Mhm.
passion for me, when I go back home, I just like, I can't wait to get back home,
Mhm.
to go to this
Mhm.
place and go to that place and do this. And you see a little bit more proud of yourself now that you from that that demographic, so to speak. So, but family wise, my mother is here. um my closest, all my siblings are pretty much here in the States.
Okay. Mhm.
um as I mentioned earlier, children wise, all the children are grown at this point
Mhm.
now. Between you
Mhm.
and myself, it's five total.
Mhm.
Four boys and a girl.
Mhm.
So Jazz right now, 16 going on 17. So we can't wait for her
Yeah.
to be able to. Yeah. So
Mhm.
we pretty much empty nested right now. The oldest, Jerome, is about Jerome like 28 now, almost going on 29, I think.
Mhm.
That's Jamal. That's Solomon. That's Josiah. All these children that got their own places now, and so it just,
Mhm.
just you and I for the most part. And so, yeah, hopefully, one of the days we can be able to, take them back and let them see,
Mm. That'd be
where,
nice.
yeah, where Daddy started from, so to speak. So that all again come back into me with this starting a business. There, it's not just on
Mm.
the financial side of things, but you just feel like you have to do something.
Mm.
What is on the humanitarian side of things. I make my trip back home and you see people, you see the struggle that they're going through. And you tell yourself, okay, how can I help a little bit, to make things easier for them? And the
Mhm.
opportunities are there, but of course the
Mhm.
circumstances too, because it's a challenge being here and trying to do something there, business wise, so to speak. So
Mhm.
it's always that part where you're trying to juggle. But then
Mhm.
if you get somebody that you can trust there, somebody you can rely on there that can really help you in the process and make things easier. And that's one of the things I so much appreciate about Martin, and of course the team that he has, that he put together there too. I can tell you this, without the help of Martin and stuff like that, it would have been a tough role for me trying to establish this business. I know things are not easy. I know people are not all, we're not perfect, so to speak, you know, but
Mhm.
you can look back and see the improvement, and it takes time.
Mhm.
I always say it's
Mhm.
a learning process. It's a growth that we are
Mhm.
going through, a journey that we can look back on one day and say, hey, I remember
Mhm.
this time. I remember that time,
Mhm.
but it's sticking with it, and, and hopefully trying to see it through.
Sure, sure. Very nice. Thank you for that. And so, with that being said, we've talked about quite a few different things. But one of the things that we really haven't talked about is what we're on now, which is the UMG podcast. How did you come up with that particular this platform? What were your thoughts, with the podcast? And then what's the purpose of it? How do you plan to use it to assist not only those that are watching, but also, well, those both in the US as well as Liberia? So tell us about the UMG podcast. How did this come about? What made you want to do it? What does that look like in your mind? What is this podcast all about?
Well, the podcast is again an extension of what I'm trying to do with UMG. To get
Mhm.
that vision out there, basically helping entrepreneur, CEOs, investors, SMEs, inventors in Liberia. Uh, trying to connect them with resources. As I mentioned before, it's not just only financial side of things in terms of resources, but also the know-how. Okay.
Mhm.
And I was privileged enough to be a part of WBAF, which is the World Angel Business Investment Forum, or the World Business Angel Investment Forum. Um, and I'm an international partner there, representing Liberia. And so being in that platform, that network where you have
Mhm.
people, some of the amazing, incredible people in terms of business, what they are doing. And
Mhm.
I told myself, how can I share some of these knowledges, with people out there, and just not only Liberians, but just someone who just trying to start a business as well. Of course, my niche primarily, from South Liberia, because I do have a business there. But they can go across the board to anyone who's trying to do business, especially in Africa, so to speak. So having this platform allows me to interview these ones, the
Mhm.
challenges, the strategy,
Mhm.
the success, and hopefully
Mhm.
that someone who watching can, kind of pick up a little bit of
Mhm.
that, you
Mhm.
know, and add to, like I said, a little bit of threat,
Mhm.
and add it to the cloth. So eventually they can have this garment that they're trying to make in life, or trying to do some kind of a business, trying to achieve something. So that was the concept with that, talk with these ones, especially now that I have access to these people, that I can, let them to share their experiences, you know. So I thought about building a community that way, with
Mhm.
the UMG podcast, you know,
Mhm.
to educate my audience on, how what it takes, to do a
Mhm.
business, what on the financial side of things, what is building that partnership with maybe a business outside of Liberia, or business in Liberia, or even someone who an investor, looking at the continent, looking at Africa, and trying to get some ideas on, what it would take to um, do some business there, that
Mhm.
they can gain something from the show, from the the interviews, the conversation. And I try to get people who too have some kind of experience working on the
Mhm.
continent,
Mhm.
that they can share those experiences, because every experience is kind of different, you know, that they can
Mhm.
be able to do these things and share. So that's what the podcast is about. So I would say, if you're watching it at this time now, make sure to subscribe, right? So you can be
Mhm.
notified when we have these amazing guests. And some of my guests, I'm talking about individuals from Dubai, Singapore, up in Europe, Panama, Brazil, around the world. These are founders of businesses. These are
Mhm.
entrepreneurs. These are CEOs,
Mhm.
um, investors, that's going to be on the platform, and we'll be having a nice conversation with them, and just trying to glean from what experiences that they have,
Mhm.
and can be able to share that with the podcast community, of the UMG family, as I like to call them.
Okay, thank you for that. So, but this does not exclude, just for clarity, this doesn't exclude those that have businesses in Africa. What if someone wanted to be on the show, on the UMG podcast, and they said, "Hey, I have a business in Liberia, and I think this would be great information," or I started a business over here, or whatever the case may be. Are you open to different ones sharing their knowledge about business and what it takes, and some of the challenges or successes that they may have had while in while in their business, that journey that they're taking? Are you open to
Yes.
that as well? Okay.
Yeah, obviously, this is an open,
Mhm.
it's an open platform,
Mhm.
and like I say, I always say Liberia because, again, that's where I'm
Sure.
from. That's where I have, my
Mhm.
business, kind of my niche, but it's a general platform, uh, primarily mainly for the continent of Africa. There
Mhm.
is so
Mhm.
much business opportunity,
Mhm.
like Africa. Like one of my guests mentioned that Africa business, that if it's for doers, people who want to do it. You know,
Mhm.
Even though it's a challenge there, but um, it's a lot of opportunity that is that's there as well too. And sometimes people just need to know
Mhm.
what they have to do. Maybe they just need that someone that they can just kind of partner with, you
Sure.
know. But
Mhm.
of course, if you're in Liberia, you don't have access to these individuals outside of Liberia. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
that can be a challenge. So this is a platform that connects the two. Or
Mhm.
if you're somebody in Turkey, or in Germany or some other places,
Mhm.
in China, and watching the
Sure.
program and say, "Oh, I saw this person that you interview, and they're from Liberia, and they have this business. I can partner with that individual."
Mhm. Mhm.
So it go in both ways, and that's what I hope to
Mhm.
accomplish. In that person can take away, you know, whatever is needed for them to add on to the journey, of what they're trying to do.
It's really nice to think that those in Liberia who really may not have the resource, now you're bringing these resources to the platform. You're bringing the knowledge and the know-how to the UMG podcast for everyone.
Mhm.
Um, they can catch it on the UMG podcast here. You've got Twitter, you've got YouTube, you've got Facebook, you even got Instagram, I believe. So you have a number of ways where ones can contact you to really get some information and find out what is necessary to help build their business in Liberia, or if they're here in America and going to Liberia, or Liberia coming to going to a different country. It's still a resource that can be used regardless of where anyone is in the entire world, due to the internet.
Absolutely.
As you said earlier, the
Yeah.
internet
Yeah.
plays a huge role,
Yeah.
and having access to it is certainly a resource. So those things are all really good. So now that we've got a few things down, Jerome. So we got where you grew up.
Mm-hmm.
We know where you're from. We know you
Mm-hmm.
have family. We know you're now here in the US, but you
Mm-hmm.
started your business in Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
We know that you're partnering with different businesses in and outside of Liberia, and you have the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What else is it that you're looking to do? I just want to wonder. And I know your mind is always going. So I'm just wondering, if nothing else, then that's fine. You sound like you have your hands tied with quite a bit here, which is good, right? But just want to kind of, ask, is there anything else that you're considering doing? And if not, that's fine. We'll move on to the next piece. But anything else that you're thinking about that you feel like would be a fantastic resource to those that are starting businesses in or outside of Liberia?
Um, like you said, it's a lot right now on my plate, and of course, starting a business require a lot of time.
Hmm.
So I don't think for me UMG is where I would like it to be at this point. I do know it's
Sure.
a growing
Hmm.
process, so
Hmm.
just like having a little child,
Hmm.
you still hands on with the child and still trying to grow it, help the child to grow. So that's basically where I'm at, I think, with UMG. So I'm focusing more now on growing the brand, getting people to
Hmm.
know about it,
Hmm.
trying to build these partnerships,
Hmm.
both locally and, of
Hmm.
course, globally as well too, using this platform that I do have. And so, just gradually working on those things, and other things come into play. Look at it at a time, and then because now as you go and opportunities and other thing pops up.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
but for now, nothing outside of
Okay.
the of the UMG process here. And the podcast is here. Like I said, building these strategic partnerships, helping businesses in Liberia
Hmm.
to grow. That's the thing that we trying to focus on,
Hmm.
and building the team
Hmm.
that I want to put together.
Hmm.
So we'll see how we see where it ends up.
Okay, sounds good. Now I could get into some more. I can ease up a little bit. One of the things I want to talk about, because I didn't know this until I had not had it until I married you.
Mhm.
The food, the food, the food is absolutely wonderful. I've had the pleasure of eating West African food, if you will, and particularly um, mom. She's made food. I've tasted Auntie Alice food. I've tasted Yvonne, Amy, your family. from Liberia that have cooked, and I've been to other events where Liberians are there, and the food is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. Now we could get into the health stuff later, but the food
Oh boy.
itself
Yeah.
is fantastic. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit. We got a few moments left about the food and the culture. Some of the differences that you found um, between Liberia and the U.S. So can you talk a little bit about that?
The food.
Ah,
Now,
it's good.
yes, I now and you. I mean, you know me with this. I think I spent over 30 plus years in the U.S. I spent more. I've been in the United States longer
Mm-hmm.
than I've been in Liberia.
Sure.
Um, and up to now,
Yeah.
I do not know much about.
No.
If I like, if we
Mhm.
go to the restaurant for the most part, you
Yeah.
probably do the ordering for me there because I'm
Yeah.
not into the food much. That my
Mhm.
Liberian food is the one that I have to, you know, the cassava leaf, the
Mhm.
double ghee, the palm butter, and the potato greens and things like that. You know, those are the things that I love to eat. And the think about now, of course, in general with African food, you know, it's across the board. You know, it's
Mhm.
made, it's nice, people enjoy it. But I also think too that most people, I always say the African food is like cooking it, the food, it talk to you. So in America here, you know, they just pop thing in the microwave, bam, bam, and then you get it out. The African food or Pacific, or in this case now, let me talk more on the Liberian side. The Liberian food, that food talk to you. It tell you when to add things to it. So it's a relationship that is going on in that kitchen. The food telling you, okay, now add the people, or add the chicken there. You got to stay with it. You got to follow it. And so when they come out, you be like, oh my goodness, you know, this loving relationship. This is what it brought. And so then when you sit down, you eat it, you can really, enjoy the food. And I always
Mhm.
telling you, I said, babe, if if you're gonna cook the African food, you can in no timing. I put it in here for 5 minutes. I leave out the kitchen. I come back. I say you got to stay around that stove. Look at that food. It will talk to you. It will tell you when to do what. You know. But
Mhm.
I just love my African food. Now, of course, I know in health, it's one of the things that we got to take into consideration too, because there's a lot of oil and other things that comes in there and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So I try to cut back on some of these things and try to eat them in moderation with
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
yes,
Mhm.
once you start up with the African food, it's a quiet taste. Once that taste come in,
Mhm.
yeah, it's hard to sometimes get rid of it.
Well, I've acquired it. It's really good. I mean, I know I know there's certain things I don't eat, and but it is for anyone that's willing to try it. It is
Mhm,
absolutely fantastic. I was wondering what took me so long to taste it, but I had to marry you in order to get some African food. So,
mhm.
but thank you for that. And then the other piece is the culture. I
Yeah.
know you will tell me, that doesn't go on in Liberia, that doesn't go on in Africa, and I know that there's cultural differences.
Hmm.
What would you say is the top thing that you notice here that just would not like it just would not happen in Liberia, at least as far as you know, as far as you could remember?
Um, I would say it's the family connection.
Mm,
You know, here,
mhm,
here in the States, usually when the child when they turn 18, they turn to moved out. That independent come into play. They start to get their own
mhm,
place. Now they start to do their own things, and then
sure.
you can see the gap between them and the parents start to widen because now they're involved. I mean, they're doing other things, and you
Mhm,
know, um, and so later on, you have that huge gap there where the next move is something wrong with the parents, and then the child trying to put the parents in the in a home, so to speak, somewhere to be able to take
Mhm.
care of them.
Mhm.
Now that's a big difference I see with the African culture. Uh, that family need, it's like that constantly. You can
Mhm.
be 35 years old, you can still be at home. Now, not necessarily that you relying on your parents, but you're around there. And
Mhm.
then at that point now, too, maybe at that age, the parents too now they need some help in certain things
Mhm.
they cannot do, and so now you take on the responsibility.
Mhm.
It's in the African culture, and of course in the Liberia, that seems to be like the retirement process. Here in the United States, people put their funds in the 401k so that when I
Mhm.
get old, I can retire. In
Mhm.
Africa, the 401k for the parents are the children.
Mm.
They do
Mhm.
everything possible for the children to help them, put them to school, this, so that when
Mhm.
they get older, and they get
Mhm.
older, rather, the children can be able to take care of them. So that family niche is always
Sure.
a huge part that play, and
Mhm.
that's just one of the difference, within the culture, I would say, and not to blame any, that just the culture. That's what it
Mhm.
is. In
Yeah.
America, you can be 18 years old and 19, and you got your own place and you're driving your car, and you got a job,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
independent come into play, and then just to
Mhm.
kind of, to me, just widen the gap, with the family. And then that
Mhm.
it just become, at that point, the husband, the wife, and the children.
Mhm. Mhm.
The parents now, or the other extended family now, out of the picture, so to speak,
Mhm.
not that close. But you have very few that do have that. Um, but in Africa, that's a 24, all, all your life.
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
you're tied in with you're tied in with the parents. And for you to talk about putting your parents in a home, oh my goodness. They look at you like something wrong with you.
Something's wrong, huh?
Something
Yeah.
wrong with you. You better take care of your mind, your pie. And so that's just the culture
Ah,
difference.
gotcha.
Yeah, at least it's one of them. Yeah,
Right. Any other ones you wanna share? I
maybe
know that
all.
was huge. I remember you told me about that. That was a big deal because I asked about retirement and Social Security, and you was like, That's not in Africa. There's
Well,
not like a Social
definitely
Security
not in Liberia,
retirement
that's
or
for sure.
Liberia, yeah.
Yeah,
That there's not in Liberia, there's not
yeah,
that or, you don't put your parents in a home. That's one thing you won't see there. And I thought that was very interesting. I
yeah.
had never I didn't know that.
Right,
I don't have parents in a home right now, but I'm just saying, I
right.
know of the home because I'm here in the US and I see it,
Yeah,
right? So,
and plus it's expensive too. I mean, you're always going to have someone home, to be
yeah.
there with them as they get older, to be able to help them out. But yeah, we don't have those kind of a facility there
Mhm.
like that,
Mhm.
for parents,
Mhm.
because it's naturally in the culture that, as you get older, your
Sure.
parents now become your responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I got it. Makes
Mhm.
sense. Any other ones before we move into our 5 for 5?
No, that's about it, pretty much. I know there's other differences there within
Mhm.
the culture and things like,
Mhm.
and then even the way of doing things. Now, it's the pros and it's the cons.
Mhm. Mhm.
In the African culture, specifically, I say with Liberia, people are completely laid back.
Mm.
And America here is, I got to go. I mean, you got to move.
Yeah. Gotta get it done.
Time. If
Mhm.
I think I'm going to be to your place by 7 in the morning, that's because I got other things I got to do. So I got to get there and be able
Mhm.
to do. And like,
Mhm.
bro, you get to the person's house at 7, and they look at you like you're crazy. And, you're trying to move fast. Where you running to? Sit down. They want to get you something to drink first, and
Oh.
before you can even start talking
Oh,
and stuff like
goodness.
that. And and if I'm not mistaken, I don't even think the average person said go to work by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. They come into work around 10, 11 o'clock, and then in an hour they're ready to go for lunch. So it's just a whole laid back thing there that,
Are you
again,
serious?
and then if
How
you're
are we getting
doing
stuff done?
exactly, exactly. Everybody in a meeting in like, bro. you call you call a person and they tell you, I'm in a meeting, you know. So
My
when you
goodness.
go there, yeah, when you're doing the business there, the mindsets, you have to change
Gotcha.
you got to be
Mhm.
very patient, you
Mhm.
know, to be able to do things. Like, bro, man, you're asking a question, you know. He will give you the background before he answer the question. And, you know, and you got to sit there.
Right.
You got, mm-hmm.
I don't need
Yeah.
that. I just want to answer to the
Yeah, you
this is
do.
American side. I just need
Yeah,
to answer to the
exactly.
question. If I need
Right.
additional detail, then I'll ask you. That's the
Exactly.
American side. Okay,
Exactly.
gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Well, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
We know who you are. We know where you
Mm-hmm.
grew up. We knew what
Mm-hmm.
languages you spoke when you were little, when you came to
Mm-hmm.
the US. We know about the
Mm-hmm.
podcast
Mm-hmm.
as well as UMG as a whole. And just to
Mm-hmm.
kind of put a bow on it, I would say UMG itself is a
Mm-hmm.
resource platform to help Liberian businesses grow, or anyone that wants to really know and understand businesses and any challenges they may have, or
Mm-hmm.
work through those challenges to have successes. UMG is that platform where one can get those details. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And I
Okay.
encourage, you know, those to take advantage of it. Like you said,
Hmm.
go to and you know, go to the website, see some of the services
Hmm.
that we have there
Hmm.
as well too. Yeah,
Okay, sounds
definitely.
good. Well,
Mhm.
thank you so much. And now, 5 for 5.
Okay.
Are you ready for it? I'm going to show my little dun dun dun. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. 5 for 5. Favorite food.
Kasawali. Hands
Favorite.
down. Hands
Oh,
down.
hands down.
Kasawali. Hands down.
Kasawali.
Kasawali.
Okay.
I'm from Cape Mount County, so that vibe man that Kasawali. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Liberia,
Mm.
favorite place you want a vacation?
Favorite place I want to vacation outside Liberia. Wow. I would say Belize.
Belize.
Yeah,
Why
Belize.
Belize?
It just I've seen a couple of pictures
Mm-hmm.
of it, and for some reason, I mean, I mean, I've been to the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see some stuff with Jamaica, but whenever I look at a picture or video or something from Belize, it just does something. It just takes me right back to Liberia. So when you say
Mm.
apart from Liberia,
Uh-huh.
yes, my mind ran straight to Belize. I don't know why, but one day I'll find out.
Okay.
Maybe you can take me there.
I think I might. I think I
Okay,
might.
that's good.
Okay. Next. Now
Hmm.
this might be a little, it might make you think a little bit.
Hmm.
Outside of Liberia, what country would you want to visit in Africa?
I would love to visit Ghana.
Ghana. Now why Ghana?
Well, I have passed through Ghana before. You know,
Mm-hmm.
traveling. I stopped
Mm-hmm.
there, spent a night there, but I've
Mm-hmm.
not really actually, you know, move around in there.
Enjoyed it. Mm-hmm.
Enjoyed it. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's being a close neighbor to Liberia, and
Mm-hmm.
of course, you know, Ghana was where my mother, you know, when they were leaving from Liberia, they came from. So they spent
Mm-hmm.
some time there, and my mother's always talking about Ghana. My stepdad too was from Ghana, so it's just one of the places I love to check it out. You know, I've been to the Ivory Coast and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
but Ghana,
Mm-hmm.
yes, is where I would love to check the Gold Coast.
Gotcha. Okay. Favorite quote.
My favorite quote: um, "There is no act in the face to tell the mind construction."
Mm.
In other words, you cannot look at a person and tell what on their mind, so to speak. You know, so you cannot judge the book by the cover. You know,
Mm-hmm.
basically, you have to get to know a person.
Okay.
Hmm.
And lastly,
Hmm.
what last words do you have for the UMG family?
And speaking about the UMG family, if you know, like I say, if you're watching this podcast, the objective here is to be able to provide some resources, you know, to help a person in their journey. I know in Liberia, I mean, once you get there, you see hundreds and hundreds of people in the street. You know, business is what everybody doing, and not taking anything away from school because people need to be in school. You know, you need to get the
Mhm,
education, but at a certain point in your life, you know, either that time, in a sense, a little bit past a little, or maybe someone, the circumstances, now they got responsibility, they have other things. So the next thing is business. How do I start a business? What do I do to pull ends meet, you know, to get ends meet, to take care of my family, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So business is a very huge part, and I'm hoping that people will be able to get um little bit of information, a little bit of resources and stuff from the podcast, from the interviews that I'm going to have with these distinguished, guests I will have on the program. People who seasoned, investors and entrepreneurs with a
Mm-hmm.
vast knowledge of experiences and wisdom and things that they can bring to the platform. That they can be able to gain something from it and
Mm-hmm.
add it on to their journey. So I encourage everyone to subscribe, get the word out there with the podcast. You know, we're going to be posting stuff on a weekly basis. And so every week you will have something that you can kind of look forward to. So spread the word, join the family, engage with the family, on the podcast. And we're going to have time where, we have guests that will come back, to be able to answer a question from the audience, a segment, something like
Mm-hmm.
that they can take in the questions for the audience, that, whatever question that you may have. So my
Mm-hmm.
hope is that people will be able to watch the podcast and walk away with something that they can add into their journey in life.
All right. Well, Jerome, thank you so much for the information. Really appreciate you being here. And if I do say so myself, this was very interesting. Very interesting. We certainly do appreciate all the information.
Oh, no problem at all. It was a pleasure being here, and a pleasure having you as a co-host. And of course, I know next time around, I will be the one hosting the show. So thank you so much. Also, thank you for your support as well too. This is something that I'm embarking on to do, and of course, it wouldn't have been possible without your support, and of course, being understanding. I know it's a cultural difference, so when I talk about Liberia, you are understanding with me. You always try to reason with me. You always try to understand, why do I have this passion to do this or to do that when it comes to Liberia. So I thank you so much for that. And I've also thank you for being a wonderful, wonderful wife as well.
Oh, don't make, hold on. Don't do that, husband.
Really, really.
All right. Well, UMG family, that's it for the podcast today. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We can also be reached on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as LinkedIn. We are UMG Biz. That's UMGBIZ.com. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye bye.